Hey there. Let's talk about anxiety. That heavy, buzzing static in the back of your mind. The constant hum of what if that follows you through your day, from the moment you wake up to the last thoughts before you fall asleep. It's the pressure of deadlines, the ghost of past mistakes, the sheer uncertainty of the future, all rolled into one overwhelming feeling that just sits there. In our modern world, we're taught to fight it, to suppress it, to power through, to distract ourselves with 1,000 different things. But what if I told you that you're fighting the wrong battle? What if that anxiety isn't some kind of flaw or weakness, but a message? A desperate, coded message from a hidden part of yourself, trying to get your attention. This isn't a new, trendy idea. It comes from one of the most profound minds in the history of psychology, Carl Gustav Jung. Jung's contribution to psychology was a radical shift. He didn't see the human mind as just a collection of conscious thoughts and forgotten memories. He saw it as a vast, living ecosystem, with a conscious part we know as me, and a much larger, deeper part, the unconscious. And here's the real kicker, the idea that changes everything. Jung believed that most of our anxiety is a direct message from this unconscious. It's not random noise. It's meaningful communication. And when we try to silence it, to push it down, it's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more explosive its return will be. It fights back with even more stress, more panic, more of that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. So, the path to ending worry isn't about winning a war against your own mind. It's about learning the language of your psyche. It's about turning that enemy you're fighting into a guide. This is the journey we're going on today. We're going to walk through the steps, the real, practical steps, that Carl Jung laid out for making peace with your unconscious and transforming your anxiety from a master you serve into an energy you direct. This isn't about quick fixes. This is about fundamental change. It's about learning to listen. Part 1. Making the intangible tangible. Giving your anxiety a face. All right, let's start with the feeling itself. Anxiety is fuzzy, right? It's a cloud of dread. It's a knot in your stomach. It's a racing heart. It's everywhere and nowhere at once. This vagueness is a huge part of its power. You can't fight a fog. You can't reason with a mist. So, the first step in Jungian psychology is to make it concrete. To give it a form. Jung taught that the unconscious doesn't communicate in spreadsheets and logical arguments. It speaks the ancient language of symbols, images, and stories. To understand it, we have to meet it on its own turf. I want you to try something with me. Right now, just for a moment, close your eyes. Don't fight the anxiety. Don't try to make it go away. Instead, invite it in. Imagine that this feeling of anxiety isn't just a feeling. Imagine it's a being, an entity. It has entered the room with you. What does it look like? Don't judge the first image that pops into your head. Just let it form. This is crucial. Is it a shadowy figure lurking in the corner? Is it a small, terrified child? Is it a grating, whispering voice with no body? Maybe it's an animal, a restless wolf pacing in a cage, or a trapped bird fluttering against a window. Maybe it's not even humanoid. Maybe it's a dark, swirling vortex, or a heavy, leaden weight. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is your psyche's unique expression. The power of this method, what Jung called active imagination, is in the act of transformation. You are taking an abstract, overwhelming emotion and turning it into something you can see. Something you can, eventually, have a relationship with. When your anxiety is a vague force, it controls you. When it has a form, you can begin to interact with it. You gain a point of focus. You are no longer a passive victim of a mysterious internal storm. You're a person in a room with another being. This shift is everything. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." By giving your anxiety a face, you are taking the first, monumental step toward making the unconscious conscious. You are pulling back the curtain. You're not just looking at your anxiety anymore. You're preparing to understand it. And understanding is the beginning of mastery. Part 2. The conversation, talking to the shadow in the corner. Okay, so you've managed to see it. There it is, this embodiment of your worry, standing across from you. It might feel strange, even silly. Your logical mind might be protesting. This is ridiculous. I'm making up a character, but remember, we're speaking the language of the unconscious now. Logic takes a back seat. This is about intuition, image and symbol. Now for the next, and perhaps most courageous, step, start a dialogue. I know. Talking to a figment of your imagination. But think about it. When you're consumed by worry, aren't you already having a conversation in your head? It's just a one-sided, looping, frantic monologue. What if this happens? What if I fail? What will they think? This method is about turning that chaotic monologue into a structured, purposeful dialogue. So look at the figure you've created. Take a deep breath, and in your mind, ask it a question. Start simple. Why are you here? What are you trying to tell me? What do you need? Then, wait. Be patient. Don't force an answer. Just listen. The response might not come in clear, grammatical sentences. It might be a feeling, a sudden memory, an image that shifts. It might be a single word. The unconscious is not a novelist, it's a poet. It speaks in fragments and metaphors. For example, if your anxiety looks like a child, it might communicate a sense of being lost or scared. If it's a shadow, it might convey a feeling of being ignored or rejected. If it's a monster, it might be expressing a raw and tamed fear. The goal here isn't to have a perfectly coherent chat. The goal is to open a channel. Jung believed that the path to psychological wholeness, what he called individuation, relies on this very dialogue between the conscious ego and the unconscious. By talking to your anxiety, you are acknowledging its existence. You are giving it a voice. And in doing so, you are robbing it of its destructive, silent power. The more you ignore an emotion, the louder it screams. By listening, you begin to calm the scream back into a whisper. You start to understand that this anxiety isn't a foreign invader trying to destroy you. It's a part of you, a part that feels threatened, or sees a danger you're consciously ignoring, or is carrying an old wound that never healed. It's a messenger, and right now, it's delivering its message in the only way it knows how, through panic. When you engage it in conversation, you're saying, "Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention," and often, that's the first thing it needs. Part 3. Listening to the whispers, decoding the symbolic language. You've asked the question. Now, you have to truly listen to the answer. But this is where many people get stuck, because we're trained to listen for data, for facts. The unconscious doesn't deal in those. Its native tongue is symbolism. So after you've initiated this dialogue, you need to become an interpreter. Pay attention to what comes up in the days that follow. This isn't a one-and-done exercise. It's an ongoing practice. Dreams, this is a big one. After you've started engaging with your anxiety in this way, your dreams might become more vivid. You might see the figure you imagined. You might encounter scenarios that feel like the same anxiety. A dream of being chased, of being unprepared for an exam, of losing something precious. These are classic anxiety symbols. Jung saw dreams as a direct line to the unconscious. They are the royal road to understanding what's really brewing beneath the surface. Synchronicities. Jung coined this term for meaningful coincidences. You might start noticing patterns. A song on the radio that speaks directly to your fear. A phrase in a book that jumps out at you. A conversation with a friend that unexpectedly illuminates something about your anxiety. The unconscious doesn't just speak from within. It uses the outer world to send signals, once you're open to receiving them. Intuitive flashes, a sudden insight while you're in the shower or driving. A gut feeling about a situation. These are often fragments of unconscious knowledge breaking through into your conscious awareness. Your job is to collect these clues. Keep a journal, a dream journal, an anxiety journal, just a notebook for these impressions. Don't analyze them to death at first. Just write them down. Over time, patterns will emerge. Let's say your anxiety figure was a caged animal. Then you dream about being trapped in a small room. Then you keep hearing songs about freedom. The message isn't literal. You don't need to buy a bigger house. The message is about a feeling of confinement in your life. Perhaps you feel trapped in a job, a relationship, or a pattern of thinking. The anxiety is the symptom. The feeling of being caged is the cause. By listening to these symbolic answers, you move from just managing the symptom to addressing the root. You are learning the map of your own inner world. Part 4. Creative expression. Letting the demons dance on paper. You've given your anxiety a form. You've talked to it. You've listened to its symbolic language. Now, there's a crucial step. You have to let it out. All that psychic energy that's been swirling round inside you, causing turmoil, needs a channel. It needs to be expressed. Jung was a huge proponent of creative expression as a vital tool for psychological health. He himself filled volumes with his own paintings, drawings, and elaborate writings from his encounters with the unconscious, his famous Red Book. The goal here is not to create a masterpiece. The goal is to let the energy flow out of you and into the world in a tangible way. This is alchemy. You are transforming more chaotic anxiety into structured, conscious creation. How can you do this? Write. Don't just journal about your day. Write a story where your anxiety figure is the main character. What's its journey? Write a letter to your anxiety, or a letter from your anxiety to you. Let the words flow without editing. You will be amazed at what comes out when you bypass the inner critic. Draw or paint. Get some paper and colors. Don't think. Just let your hand move. Draw the image of your anxiety. It doesn't have to be technically good. The act of moving the pen or brush, of giving color and shape to the forms, is incredibly powerful. You are externalizing the internal. Move. If your anxiety feels like a tight, buzzing energy, dance it out. Put on music that matches the feeling and move your body. Let the anxiety express itself through physical motion. Voice, speak your dialogue out loud. Record it. Hearing the words can give them a new weight and meaning. When you express your feelings creatively, you are doing several things at once. You are acknowledging the emotion fully, which is a form of acceptance. You are releasing the pent-up energy, which provides immediate relief. And most importantly, you are creating an artifact, a drawing, a piece of writing that you can look at from a distance. This creates psychological space. You are no longer in the anxiety. You are now observing a representation of it. This shift in perspective is transformative. The anxiety is no longer a force that controls you from the inside. It becomes an object outside of you that you can study, understand, and relate to. This is a cornerstone of Jungian therapy. You are building a bridge between the unconscious and the conscious world. Part 5. The Conscious. Realization, weaving the insights into your life. So, you've done the work. You've personified, dialogued, listened, and expressed. A lot of internal material has been brought to the surface. But the process isn't complete until you take this raw, symbolic material and weave it back into your conscious life. You need to come to a conscious, grounded realization. This is the step of integration. It's where you ask yourself, what have I learned? What is the real-world truth behind these symbols? Look at your journal. Look at your drawings. Reread the stories you wrote. What are the recurring themes? Confinement, abandonment, fear of failure, a longing for freedom, the feeling of not being good enough. Your anxiety has been trying to point you toward a specific wound, a specific conflict, a specific need that is not being met. Now, it's time to translate that symbolic message into practical understanding. For example, if your exploration consistently pointed to a theme of being trapped, the conscious realization might be, my anxiety flares up when I feel I have no choices. The root cause is my fear of commitment to my current career path, which feels like a life sentence, or I need to create more boundaries in my personal relationships so I don't feel suffocated. This is not always a comfortable step. Jung called it confronting the shadow, facing the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. It might mean acknowledging that you have a deep-seated jealousy, or a hidden anger, or a vulnerability you've been masking with bravado. But here's the magic. When you consciously acknowledge this truth, the anxiety begins to lose its job. Its purpose was to deliver a message. The message has been received. It doesn't need to scream anymore. You then make a conscious choice. Now that I know this about myself, what will I do? You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. But you can take a small step. Maybe you research a new career path. Maybe you have an honest conversation with your partner. The action is less important than the awareness. The anxiety transforms from a disruptive force into a compass, guiding you toward greater self-awareness and authenticity. Jung believed that true freedom comes from this integration. You stop fighting yourself and start becoming whole. The energy you once spent on suppressing your anxiety is now freed up for living a more creative, purposeful, and peaceful life. Part 6. Dreams, the royal road to the root. If you really want to get to the deepest roots of your anxiety, you have to pay attention to your dreams. Jung saw dreams as the pure, unfiltered voice of the unconscious, while our waking anxieties are often distorted and generalized. Dreams are precise and symbolic. They show us exactly what's going on beneath the surface. Think of your mind as an iceberg. Your unconscious thoughts are the tip above the water. Your anxiety is the choppy water at the surface, stirred up by the massive, hidden bulk of the iceberg below, the unconscious. Dreams are like sonar. They map the shape of that hidden mass. Start keeping a dream journal. Keep it by your bed and write down everything you remember the moment you wake up, even if it's just a fragment, a color, or a feeling. Over time, you will start to see patterns, recurring dreams. These are huge red flags from your unconscious, pointing to an unresolved conflict. A dream that repeats is a message that you're consistently not hearing in your waking life. Archetypal images. Jung discovered that our dreams often contain universal symbols, archetypes, like the wise old man, the great mother, the hero, the trickster. These aren't just personal, they tap into the collective unconscious, the shared psychic inheritance of humanity. Seeing such figures can indicate you're dealing with a fundamental human struggle, not just a personal one. The tone and feeling, the emotion in the dream is often more important than the plot. Do you feel terrified, curious, sad, empowered? That feeling is a direct reflection of your unconscious state. By analyzing your dreams, you can often find the original source of your anxiety. It might be a childhood memory, a repressed talent, or a forbidden desire. When you bring the light of consciousness to these dream images through journaling and reflection, you perform a powerful act of healing. You are telling your unconscious, I see what you're showing me. I'm working on it. This, in itself, can dramatically reduce anxiety, as you are finally addressing the problem at its source. Part 7. The Mask and the Shadow, the ultimate source of conflict. Finally, we come to perhaps Jung's most famous and powerful concepts for understanding anxiety, the persona and the shadow. The persona is the mask we wear in society. It's the you at work, the you with your family, the you on social media. It's necessary. We need a persona to function smoothly in the world. But problems rise when we over-identify with the mask. We start to believe that the mask is who we really are. We suppress any part of ourselves that doesn't fit the image of the perfect employee, the always cheerful friend, the capable parent. And where do those suppressed parts go? They get shoved into the shadow. The shadow is the repository for everything about ourselves that we deem unacceptable, our anger, our laziness, our selfishness, our fears, our wildness. Even our hidden talents and power that we're afraid to own. We disown these parts, but they don't disappear. They fester in the unconscious. And here's the key. A massive amount of our anxiety comes from the constant, exhausting effort of keeping the shadow locked away. It's the tension between the perfect mask we present to the world and the messy, complex, real person we're inside. The anxiety is the pressure of the shadow demanding to be acknowledged. Think about it. What makes you most uncomfortable in other people? Often, it's a quality you've repressed in yourself. Your intense irritation at a colleague's laziness might be a signal of your own repressed desire. To rest, your judgment of someone's flamboyance might point to your own stifled creativity. The path to healing, according to Jung, is not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it, to acknowledge that you have a dark side, a weak side, a messy side, to make peace with it. To understand that the shadow isn't all bad, it contains vital life force, spontaneity, and authentic power that your persona has stifled. By doing the work we've discussed, personifying, dialoguing, dreaming, you are essentially beginning a conversation with your shadow. The anxiety that felt like a monster was likely a shadow aspect trying to break through. When you befriend it, you reclaim the energy you were using to suppress it. You become more whole, more real, more authentic. The anxiety that stemmed from the conflict between the persona and the shadow simply dissipates. Because the war is over. You have accepted all parts of yourself. Conclusion: the journey to wholeness. This journey through Carl Jung's world isn't a simple technique. It's a profound shift in how you relate to yourself. It's a move from being a victim of your inner weather to becoming a curious and compassionate explorer of your own vast inner landscape. The goal is not a life completely free of worry. That's an impossible and inhuman ideal. The goal is to have a different relationship with your worry. To see it not as a random punishment or a flaw, but as a guidance system. A call to adventure. An invitation to dive deeper into who you are and become more whole. It's about turning down the volume on the frantic noise of the surface mind and learning to listen to the deep, wise, symbolic voice of the unconscious. It's about making the unconscious conscious, so you can stop calling your unexamined fears fate and start directing your own life with awareness and purpose. The path is there. The tools are in your hands. It begins with a simple, courageous act, turning toward the anxiety, giving it a face and asking, gently, "What are you trying to tell me?" The answer might just set you free. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. If this resonated with you, and you want to continue exploring how to understand your own mind, feel free to subscribe for more content like this. Take care.